Honestly, Melanie, you're lucky we even invited you, Sabrina sneered, the champagne flute nearly overflowing in her manicured hand. The country club ballroom glittered, chandeliers reflecting off the sea of smug, well-fed faces. My stomach dropped. Each perfectly coiffed head turned, a silent judgment. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, I remained composed. A familiar ache spread through my chest. Ever been there? Felt invisible. Then you have to see what happens next. Trust me, the underdog bites back and it's glorious. Hit subscribe, you won't believe the twist coming. It started 3 years ago, almost to the day, with Dad's funeral. Sabrina, always the center of attention, delivered the eulogy, her voice trembling just enough to garner sympathy. While she recounted his business acumen, I remembered his late-night talks about honesty and helping others, the values that truly defined him. A hollow echo of what once was vibrated through the church, amplified by Sabrina's performance. Then came the reading of the will, or so we thought. Dad always said he'd provide for us equally. Sabrina received his prized antique Mercedes. I got a worn leather-bound journal filled with his business philosophies and real estate blueprints. Sentimental value, Joanne, my mother, cooed dismissively, her eyes glazed with relief. I tried to brush it off, grateful for any piece of him, yet the disparity stung. The journal felt heavy in my hands, a silent promise I wasn't sure I could keep. The following Christmas was the final straw before Sabrina's wedding. Sabrina received a sparkling diamond necklace from Mom, a symbol of her bright future, shimmering under the Christmas tree lights. Caleb, wide-eyed, asked if Santa had forgotten him. Joanne quickly deflected, saying some children are simply more fortunate, before pointedly handing him a used PlayStation game. The shame burned, a cold, bitter taste in my mouth. "It's okay, buddy," I whispered, hugging him tight. But it was okay. It was never going to be okay until I changed things. After that Christmas, the strategic silence began. I poured every ounce of energy into understanding Dad's journal, deciphering his coded business plans. Sleepless nights were spent hunched over spreadsheets in the back of my cramped apartment, illuminated by a single, flickering lamp. Caleb slept soundly nearby, oblivious to the empire slowly taking shape on my laptop screen. The early days were brutal. I remember the constant gnawing hunger, the threadbare clothes, the endless cycle of work, worry, and guilt. The smell of stale coffee permeated everything. No new shoes, no doctor visits, no vacations. Each sacrifice was a brick in the foundation of what was to come. Meanwhile, Sabrina and Joanne flaunted their wealth, oblivious to my growing empire. My first significant deal came with the purchase of a dilapidated warehouse district downtown. While the family continued to focus on luxury condos, I saw potential in revitalizing forgotten spaces. Slowly, subtly, I transformed those warehouses into artist lofts and trendy cafes, attracting a new generation of residents. The profits were reinvested, fueling further expansion. A year later, I secretly acquired the land adjacent to one of Cooper Realty's flagship developments. Sabrina had planned a luxury spa, but I outbid her, intending to build affordable housing for low-income families. The irony was delicious. She'd unknowingly funded her own downfall. The project became a symbol of my commitment to Dad's values, a silent testament to what Cooper Realty could become. There were close calls, moments when the truth threatened to surface. Once, Sabrina casually mentioned needing a loan for a new boutique, unaware that I secretly owned the bank she was approaching. I approved the loan, knowing she was digging herself deeper into debt, a delicate dance of deception and control. The knowledge of her dependence fueled my resolve. No more humiliation, no more silent suffering. I was building not just wealth but a legacy of purpose and power. A week later, an invitation arrived, ornate script announcing Joanne's 60th birthday gala at the Cooper family estate. A knot tightened in my stomach. Another chance to parade me around like a pauper, I muttered, staring at the shimmering card. Not this time. The internal battle raged. Ignore it, or face them head-on, I will go. Strategic prep began immediately. I arranged a meeting with my new stylist, a flamboyant artist named Julian. He understood the assignment implicitly, understated elegance that screamed quiet power. The dress was a midnight blue silk, simple yet striking, accessorized with a single strand of Dad's pearls, reclaimed from a dusty safety deposit box. The night arrived with the force of an oncoming storm. As the town car approached the familiar gates, I took a deep breath. The estate glowed, bathed in soft light, the air thick with the scent of roses and privilege. It was a stage set for my past self, a life I had meticulously dismantled. Inside, the ballroom buzzed with familiar faces, all impeccably dressed, sipping champagne, their conversations a symphony of clinking glasses and hollow laughter. Joanne, resplendent in emerald green, greeted guests with practiced grace. Sabrina, ever the dutiful daughter, hovered nearby, her eyes scanning the room with an air of calculated charm. Their obliviousness was almost comical. They saw me, Melanie, the cafe worker, not Melanie, the silent owner of half of what they owned. The contrast between my present and past was stark, a tangible weight. I moved through the crowd, a ghost in their gilded world, watching, listening, absorbing their shallow pronouncements. Melanie, how lovely of you to come, Joanne gushed, her tone laced with condescension. We weren't sure you could find a babysitter. The subtle dig landed flat. I simply smiled, a polite, closed-lip expression that revealed nothing. Sabrina sauntered over, her diamond bracelet catching the light. Love the dress, Mel, is that vintage? Her lip curled slightly. It's timeless, Sabrina, I replied, my voice even, my eyes locking with hers. A flicker of unease crossed her face. It was barely perceptible, a subtle crack in her carefully constructed facade. She did not know it, but it was a harbinger, and very soon the house would fall. Honestly, Melanie, you're lucky we even invited you, Sabrina sneered, the champagne flute nearly overflowing in her manicured hand. The country club ballroom glittered, chandeliers reflecting off the sea of smug, well-fed faces. My stomach dropped. Each perfectly coiffed head turned, a silent judgment. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, I remained composed. A familiar ache spread through my chest. And now, Sabrina's voice cut through the chatter, falsely amplified by the microphone, we have a very special item up for bid. A day with Melanie and her adorable son Caleb. Think of it as a charity case. She paused for calculated laughter. The room erupted, cruel and deafening. My blood ran cold, this was it. But before I could flee, a booming voice silenced the room. Stop. Every head swiveled. A tall, distinguished man, Franklin Pierce, Dad's lawyer, stood at the entrance, holding a thick, leather-bound document. I apologize for the interruption, he announced, his voice resonating with authority. But I have been instructed to read Charles Cooper's final will and testament. The color drained from Joanne's face. Sabrina's jaw dropped. A hush fell over the crowd, heavier than the earlier laughter. There must be some mistake, Joanne stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Franklin Pierce ignored her. To my daughter Melanie Cooper, he began, his eyes locking on mine, I leave 92% ownership of Cooper Realty, including all properties, investments, and charitable foundations. The original will was based on outdated information. This supersedes all previous documents. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. 92%. The words echoed in the ballroom, each syllable a hammer blow. Sabrina's carefully constructed world crumbled. Joanne's composure shattered, revealing raw panic. A ripple of murmurs spread through the room, disbelief warring with dawning realization. My grip tightened on Caleb's hand. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with confusion. I managed a small smile. It was finally over, no more hiding, no more shame. Daniel Whittaker's parents, who had been eagerly eyeing Sabrina all night, pulled him away from her side, their faces etched with disgust. One woman gasped audibly, clutching her chest. Another fainted, collapsing into her husband's arms. This can't be true, Sabrina finally sputtered, her voice trembling. The champagne flute slipped from her grasp, shattering on the floor. Franklin Pierce simply raised an eyebrow, holding up the document for all to see. It is quite true, Ms. Cooper. Melanie is now the majority shareholder of Cooper Realty. I met Sabrina's gaze, her eyes filled with a mixture of rage and horror. I saw the fear, the desperation, the utter defeat. I said nothing. My silence was louder than any words could ever be. I was done talking. The power had shifted. The game had changed. And I was finally ready to play. Joanne, regaining a sliver of composure, was the first to speak. Melanie, darling, there's been a misunderstanding. We always had your best interests at heart. Her voice dripped with false concern, a pathetic attempt to regain control. Surely we can discuss this privately. Perhaps a settlement. I tilted my head, a faint smile playing on my lips. A settlement. After years of being treated like an outcast. A settlement, mother, after you auctioned my son. I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. I think not. Sabrina, fueled by desperation, tried a different tactic. Melanie, be reasonable. Think of the family. You don't understand the intricacies of running a business like Cooper Realty. You'll ruin everything. Her voice rose in pitch, bordering on hysterical. Let me help you. Help me. The irony was almost too much to bear. You laughed then. You're not laughing now, I stated, my voice calm and unwavering. Internally, a wave of satisfaction washed over me, but I maintained my outward composure. Sabrina, I've been running a business for years, and I think you'll find I'm quite capable. Joanne, sensing her leverage slipping away, changed tactics. What about Caleb? Melanie? Think of his future. Cooper Realty could provide him with opportunities you can only dream of. Ah, the emotional manipulation. Predictable. I glanced at Caleb, who was watching the scene with a mixture of confusion and concern. Caleb's future is secure, mother, more secure than you can imagine. I squeezed his hand gently. And unlike you, I won't use him as a bargaining chip. Sabrina, grasping at straws, made one final attempt. Melanie, think of all the good we could do together, the charities, the foundations, we could make a real difference. We could, I agreed, my voice measured. But I think I can make a bigger difference without you. A silence fell, broken only by the distant clinking of glasses. I had said my piece. There was nothing left to discuss. I turned to Franklin. Mr. Pierce, if you'll excuse us, I think it's time my son and I left. As we walked away, I could feel their eyes boring into my back, filled with a mixture of anger, resentment, and fear. Don't worry, Mom, Caleb whispered, his small hand clutching mine. I'm proud of you. And in that moment, surrounded by the ruins of their shattered world, I knew I had already won. And the empire, I had simply reclaimed what was rightfully mine. But the evening held one final, devastating card, a move orchestrated with the precision of a seasoned chess master. As Franklin Pierce escorted us towards the exit, I paused, turning back to face my stunned family. The room held its collective breath. One more thing, I announced, my voice carrying a newfound authority, before I leave. I signaled to Franklin, who nodded, a knowing glint in his eye. He produced a small, unassuming document, a contract. As the majority shareholder of Cooper Realty, I continued, I also control the Cooper Family Foundation. And as it happens, the foundation holds the mortgage on this very estate. A collective gasp echoed through the ballroom. The estate, their sanctuary, their symbol of power and prestige. I held the key. Sabrina's face contorted in disbelief. You wouldn't, she stammered, her voice barely audible. I raised an eyebrow, a hint of a smile playing on my lips. Wouldn't I? The foundation is committed to responsible lending practices, and given Cooper Realty's current financial instability, I'm not sure this property meets the necessary criteria. The color drained from Joanne's face. She understood the implications instantly. The estate was heavily leveraged, its upkeep dependent on a steady stream of Cooper Realty profits. A sudden demand for payment could bankrupt them. Melanie, please, Joanne pleaded, her voice trembling. Don't do this. Where will we go? I met her gaze, my expression unyielding. That, mother, is not my concern. Perhaps you can try a cafe. A wave of shock and realization washed over the room. Their wealth, their status, their very home, it all hung in the balance, dependent on my whim. The power had shifted completely, irrevocably. I turned to leave, Caleb beside me, the weight of the past finally lifted from my shoulders. As we stepped out into the cool night air, I took a deep breath, the scent of roses replaced by the sweet taste of victory. The city lights twinkled in the distance, a silent promise of a future built on my terms, a future where fairness and compassion reigned supreme. What did you do, Mom? Caleb asked, his voice filled with awe. I smiled, squeezing his hand. I just made sure everyone knew who was really in charge, honey, and more importantly, I showed you that kindness and hard work always pay off. The satisfaction was exquisite. Years passed. Sabrina and Joanne attempted reconciliation, calls laced with saccharine regret. I met them once, a tense, formal affair. Their apologies felt hollow, self-serving. I offered a polite distance, prioritizing Caleb and his future. Life blossomed. Our small apartment transformed into a sun-drenched home, filled with laughter and the aroma of baking. The cafe was a distant memory. My days were now filled with meetings, philanthropy, and most importantly, time with my son. Looking back, the resentment faded, replaced by a quiet understanding. I had proven my worth not to them but to myself. The true freedom lay not in wealth, but in the unwavering belief in my own capabilities. Now, free from their shackles, I was truly powerful. Satisfying, right? Now you can rise too. What's your empire to reclaim? Share your story and inspire others. Rise above revenge, build your success.